So what does it mean, Ein Sof, light that's limitless, encloses itself into something that's limited? Chachma. Chachma, wisdom, divine wisdom, in this instance over here, or the wisdom of the soul. So Ein Sof means it's without limits. So what does it mean without limits? It means complete diversity. Whether the soul is of a lofty nature, like the righteous, their souls, the Jewish soul comes from the world of Atzilus, and it doesn't pick up anything on the way down. It's sort of like just passing through Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, and therefore they keep the very loftiness of the soul. Or a soul that goes through the process and kind of picks up some of the klipa on the way from the various worlds, and ultimately from the world of Asiya, the spiritual world of Asiya, and it actually is of the lowest rung of the totem pole in the divine order of things. The world of Asiya, the lowest world, Malchus, the lowest of the 10 divine attributes, and Nefesh, the lowest rung on the level of soulfulness. So a soul that comes from that level. So what is this doing? It's all coming from the same source. The simplistic whole oneness of God. Where is the simplistic wholeness of one God ultimately reflected? In the diversity of souls. Now the truth is, it's in the diversity of all of creation. That is the truth. But there's distinction in how that comes down in creation. Here we're speaking specifically about Jewish souls. So they all come from the same source. Ultimately, everything comes from the same source, all of creation. Physically we see the DNA of an animal and human, not much of a distinction. Because that's pointing to the fact that we all come from one source. Right. That's a more external source in the divine, as opposed to an internal source where the Jewish soul is coming from. So, interesting point that it's the diversity that is diversity in an array of souls that actually reflects the Ein Sof, the oneness of God. And so a metaphor for this, perhaps to appreciate, is like, there's only one sun, but that sun comes into, not so much into here right now, but we do have some, there's light in here coming from the outside. The sun is not so strong today here. But there is in this room. And in your room, it's also coming in. And if you're in Florida, where it might be sunny, it's probably the sun is coming in a more, powerful manner than it is coming into this room over here. And it's coming into thousands, millions of rooms around the globe. In other words, the one sun is expressed in a diversity of levels of its of the rays of the sun, and how they come into different rooms throughout the globe. But it's all coming from one source. So likewise, and here we're speaking specifically about Jewish souls, as opposed to all of creation, right? Because that's not the discussion right now. All of creation also comes from the same source of God, right? And all reflects ultimately the oneness of God, the simplistic whole oneness of God that is ultimately above and beyond any fracture, any diversity, any multiplicity. And yet from that oneness comes diversity, multiplicity, in an infinite manner, ultimately. So that's in creation in general, but in in the focus on the Jewish soul, from the highest to the lowest, it is all reflecting the same oneness of God, the Ein Sof. And again, the key over here, which we will get further understanding as we move along in tomorrow's teachings, of by way of Chokhmah. By way of Chokhmah. More to come on this. So stay tuned. Questions, comments, thoughts? Let me see here before I lose the feed. 2 question marks before you ask a question, please. John, can't a soul with its root in Malchus of Asiya move to upper worlds to study Torah, perform mitzvah? So actually very interesting. Our soul may be rooted in one place, but through our efforts in this world, you can actually get from a higher place. So maybe your soul originally came from Asiya, Malchus of Asiya, right? The lowest of the 10 divine attributes, the lowest world, perhaps, let's say. But that doesn't mean it can't effectively, through our efforts, to that the soul becomes getting its vitality from a higher place because of our efforts. Yes, so it can actually change. It can be upgraded. But what the key over here is, again, we will have more understanding of this in the next class, is because it's coming by way of Chokhmah, so it has a certain quality nature to it, certain drive that is equal in all, and defining the same in all. That's what defines the Jewish soul. Davida, does any of this change in the world to come? It just becomes, completely revealed. It's the truth now. Good question, Davida. Is God here now? Yes. But he's more concealed today because we are in exile. Right? Mashiach means that God will be more revealed, ultimately revealed, the essence of God. So, just in brief. Jeffrey, if Hashem loves the Jews, why are the Jews so persecuted? We'll get actually a bit of an understanding of that tomorrow. Good question, Jeffrey. It's a good question. We'll get a bit of an understanding of that tomorrow, from one angle, as opposed to from above. It'll be more from below. A good question. Denise, is the level of the soul that comes down the level which is which the correction is needed? The level of the soul that we have is the level that we need to work with to serve. Based on that will be what our service is and what God needs from us, right? The role of the righteous is different than us, BITs being in training. Okay. Okay, Instagram, do we have any questions here? Clubhouse. Anybody has a question or something to share?
I have one thought, Rabbi. You can tell me if this is...
Sure, go ahead, Norm. Please share with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Here, because I'm more familiar with, conventional common notions of physics,
okay.
To me it sounds a little bit like the Big Bang. There's from the oneness of God comes the entire universe. It sort of explodes out or extends out, doesn't have to explode, but it just radiates out to the infinite diversity of the universe. Is this at all close to what you're saying, using a metaphor?
Okay, well, what you're saying, there's something very much to that, not based on what I'm saying here, but I mean, there's a parallel to it from what we're saying here. That's true, but that would be more understanding the word Bereshis and the other 9 utterances of God throughout the 6 days of creation. So with the utterance of Bereshis, all of creation came into being. But as the verse says, it was all tov vavohu, right? It was all like one soup mix, so to speak, right? It was a void and how's it translated? A void and confusion. All right, this soup mix. Interesting that when it speaks about the sun or the moon, it doesn't say God created the sun and the moon on the fourth day, right? What does it say? He placed it in its position. Likewise about vegetation, right? It doesn't say God created on the 3rd day vegetation. It sprouted, it came forth on the 3rd day, right? Meaning all of it was there with one poof, one bang, right? One word, Bereshis, and from there, everything then was ordered throughout the rest of creation. So that's, that would fit into what you were saying. I mean, there's a parallel in what we're saying over here, but that would be much more the specifics for understanding. Is that clear?
Yes, Rabbi. So the physical creation, this is more a parallel, but the spiritual creation, there's something still for us to grasp. Right? You're speaking of spiritual qualities when you talk about the chacham and nefesh, not the physical universe or
right,
planet.
Exactly. Yeah, here we're talking about chachma of our soul, which is a spiritual, which is a power of the soul, the power of chachma. That is the first of the powers of the soul that is containing in it a vessel to contain the Ein Sof, the limitlessness of God, the oneness of God, right? And that's what defines the Jewish soul. Now, what that exactly means, will be tomorrow's discussion. And what is that? Okay, that's sort of like the geography, as opposed to understanding of the geography. The fact of a mountainous terrain, was the Swiss Alps, and what does that mean? Oh, okay, well, it means tomorrow's class. Yeah, so it's more the spiritual quality of the soul. That again, so that God gives us by merit, that we get because of the patriarchs and that preceded us, that they merited it because of their unique relationship with God. Is that clear?
Yes, I like it. It's good. And is there also in there that every individual Jewish soul can contain the infinitude of God?
Oh, that's the whole explanation we just gave. That was
Yeah.
that was the meat of the discussion was whether you're the lowest quality of soul from the world of Asiya, the Malchus, which is the lowest of the 10 divine attributes, and Nefesh, which is the lowest quality of soul. If that's where your soul comes from, right, a Jewish soul that we're talking about, it contains in it the Chachma of the divine through the Chachma of the soul, the Chachma of Atzilus, that Chachma Atzilus is the vehicle for the Ein Sof, for the limitlessness of God. Yes, so absolutely, absolutely, that is the point, and that was the metaphor of the sun, right? That it could be that very little sun comes into my room over here, and it could be a lot of sun comes into another room, and the diversity of all the various rooms that the sun comes in, it's all coming from the same source. So maybe I'm not so illuminated here, and another soul is more illuminated, right? A room is the room, meaning the metaphor of the soul, is more illuminated, but it's all coming from the same source. So yes, and that's what defines this all as equally Jewish. So it's not like someone is, if you got more of an illuminated soul, doesn't make you more Jewish. Oh, I've got more illuminated soul, so I'm illuminated head to toe. But someone who has less of an illuminated soul, right, because they come from a lower gradation of soul level, doesn't you won't say, well, they're only illuminated, in their heart, or maybe in their giving hand, because they're givers. No, they're illuminated head to toe. Everybody's illuminated head to toe. There's completely with a Jewish soul, not compartmentalized in any manner. Is that is that clear? Is that clearer?
It's wonderful. It's also very encouraging.
Totally, totally, absolutely. Um, Michelle, just give me one moment before I lose a feed over here. Um, Davida, how do we know what world our specific soul comes from? We have no idea. Only a Rebbe could tell you that. Only a righteous a Rebbe could tell you that. But that's not so important. What's the difference between Ein Sof and Ein Od Milvado? Ein Sof is the level of divinity. Ein Od Milvado means that there's nothing else but God. The 10-year has a question waiting to be answered on Instagram. 10-year. Okay, let's see. Does Asiya in Gashmias have an effect the same way Asiya of Ruchnias might have an effect on the soul? So, again, just to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what we are saying over here, whether your soul comes from Atzilus. Atzilus is a world of emanation. It's not even creation yet. It's an emanation of godliness. Right? It's not worldliness in any manner, that there's a sense of independence from the source. Atzilus is not. And that's why the truly righteous come from there. And as they evolve their soul and comes down into a physical body, in the physical world of Asiya, they pick up nothing on the way. No negative qualities on the way, because in the created worlds, even spiritual worlds, right, there is klipa, much less than in this physical world, but there is. So finally, when the soul comes into a body over here, it's a very lofty soul, a very lofty soul, right? Now take as opposed to a soul that came down. The soul comes from everything, is migrating through Seder Ishtalshus through the order of things. But the question is, does it just merely go through, passing through, or is it actually picking up? So, like, you're just passing through a bad scene, and you just pass through it. Or some people don't pass through the bad scene, they partake in it, and they pick up some of the bad negative things that are in that scene, right? So other souls pick up as they come down. So the lowest level soul is picking up a lot of, klipa on the way, but klipa of the spiritual world of Asiya is much less, but then it comes into the physical body. And now it has to deal with the physical reality of this world, that the klipa in the physical Asiya is much more, harsher and concealing of divine light. But the soul, as it comes into it, so it becomes a very low level soul. Now, low level doesn't mean it's missing its source. I don't have that much light in here. Does that mean I'm a low level soul and therefore I don't come from the same source? The light in my room doesn't come as it does from someone else's very illuminated, sunlit room. Come from the same place. So that the Jewish soul comes from the same place. It just migrated and picked up certain things on the way. That's a distinction. Very important. So I hope that was clear. Tomorrow we'll get greater clarity on this. Laurie, why are all Jewish is truly a birthright? Yes. Being Jewish is truly a birthright. Exactly. Given. Now, by the way, a convert that converts has exactly a Jewish soul, just like me. My parents are Jewish. My grandparents, all of them are Jewish. No distinction. Because it's not a soul that's given to you by your mother. It's a soul that's given to you by God, by way of a Jewish mother, or by conversion, according to halacha, according to Jewish law. Don't convert anybody in a place that's not in accordance to Jewish law, halacha. And if you have any questions about this, seek me out personally so I can help guide you. Because I know many people have been guided, unfortunately, in the wrong way. And they consider themselves Jewish when it's not according to halacha, and therefore you're not half pregnant, you're not half Jewish, either you are or you're not. This has got to be done right. So please, I beg of anybody that has converted, seek me out. I will help you. And, to make sure that if it was done right, then wonderful. And if not, then we got to have a discussion. Laurie, why are Jacob's sons Jewish but not Abraham and Isaac? Okay, good question, but I'm not going to deal with that right now, if you don't mind, Laurie, because that's sort of like a very full topic, and I don't know how to condense it in a moment. You have to understand. Well, actually, let me condense it for a moment. That was before the Torah was given. This definition that we're giving here in Tanya is a definition that came after the giving of the Torah. The patriarchs merited this. Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest prophet, the one who redeemed us and took us out of Egypt, at Mount Sinai, like every other Jew, became a convert. Meaning, whatever he was defined as being Jewish before, changed at the giving of the Torah. It now became one of soul and not one of allegiance. So that's partial understanding. So Vilma, the divine soul is illuminated with the Ein Sof, infinite light of God, by way of Chachma. The oneness of God is reflected in the Ein Sof. All Jewish souls come from that place. Yes. And the key over here is Chachma. We did not explain Chachma. Tomorrow we will. That's the key to understanding the uniqueness of the Jewish soul. And how you can appreciate that, because it's a very something very different, very, very different than what we have as a human understanding. But again, tomorrow. All right, folks. Amazing. You're all amazing that you stay through this all and engage in this. Kol hakavod to all of you.
Rabbi, can I?
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. Yes, go ahead. My apologies. Go ahead.
Okay.
Got carried away with myself.
I just wanted to ask one thing.
Yes.
Is it a given that the soul of my children come from the same world as mine, or have I just made that up?
No, not at all. Not at all. There's too many things that interplay that will that God will decide where your children, or for that any right child that is to be born, where that soul is to come from. But again, the key, and as David asked earlier, how can I know where my soul's coming from? Ein Sof, by way of Chachma, that's what defines you as a Jew. The rest is not important. What's the proof? You don't know. I don't know. I don't know. My soul is of, I can make a conjecture, but, what does that mean? Nothing, right? But one thing I do know, because the Alter Rebbe taught me now, that where is the source of my soul? What defines me as a Jew? What defines my Jewish soul as a Jewish soul? This is it. So that's what's important. What particular level? Well, we don't decide that. God decides it. And that will mean is, how do I express specifically my divine service of God based on where my soul comes from, and therefore what my soul needs to have its fulfillment in this world.
Okay.
That's really what it comes.
So, me being able to change the status of my soul, I can upgrade it to a higher level through Hishtadlus, you just
Absolutely,
said.
yes.
That
Through,
has
yes.
nothing, that will have no hand at all in where the soul of my children will come from.
Exactly. Well, no. Actually, we learned this in chapter 2. The garment of the soul, yes, but not the core of the soul. So, yeah, the garment of the soul will depend on our, it has, a basis in us, but that's the garment of the soul, but not the core and the essence of the soul. That's what we're talking about over here. I hope that's clear.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. All right, folks, more tomorrow. We will discuss more tomorrow, God willing. I'm Rabbi
Thank
Ron.
you, Rabbi.
Oh, Vilma. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Rabbi Ronnie Klein coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. To be continued. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all. Reminder, Rambam at 1 o'clock today. I'll be having on Instagram if I bring in tomorrow night. I'm not certain what time, but I'll keep you posted. That will be on Instagram specifically for Judaism.Chabad. All the best.